a scenario where civilization starts over. Let's get into it. This is season 2, episode 15 of the series, and we can get right into it. So, today we're going to be starting over here with this mess thingy in the British Isles. But now, what's going to happen here today? Today we are going to be looking at this situation over here with the Welsh, as a province or area of the Welsh thing is going to be breaking away. This thing is going to be breaking away, this northern part, and it wants to gain its independence. And while this thing is a pretty popular independence movement in Wales, as they will go ahead and get closer and surround their capital city. Eventually, Wales is going to surrender, and we can look at the peace treaty of this very simple revolution. And it's the peace treaty of the war, as the thing gets its independence here. But the thing is, there's no major cities in this country at all. So when there's no major city, you just plop one down. And with that major city also comes a capital city, and this is the new Welsh thingy here. Yeah. Yeah. And this is basically what's happening in the British Isles right now. Let's go just a little bit west, as we're going to see a war in Ireland break out. As the Irish will be sending their troops over into this province area over here, hoping to gain it back. Or really just gain it. Because that looks a little weird, but, well, yeah, they take it. But it doesn't look as weird as this, but let's worry about that later. As the Northern Irish troops will be quickly sent into Southern Ireland and quickly take many areas. But the Southern Irish are pretty strong, probably the more developed, the lesser developed side, but of Ireland. As we can see that the Northern Irish have two major cities, while the Southern Irish only have one, which is the capital. Oh wait, and the Northern also have the major city, so three. But the Southern Irish will be able to push back because they have a reasonably strong military, and they start an offensive up over here into this major city. But the Northern Irish are still strong, so they are going to be able to take back more areas, and eventually will be pushing back and get close to the capital city. Eventually going over here, the southern Scottish country decides to join the war and quickly takes this major city. Eventually both of these major these major cities of Ireland are taken. Eventually, the other Scottish country will be sending troops down from Iceland and here, right to the capital region. And they land right here, as both Scottish countries land in Ireland. With this, the Southern Irish country is going to stop pushing back against the Northern Irish Republic, as they go ahead and quickly get close to taking their capital. Eventually, Scotland is going to continue to push back even more, eventually taking a bunch of more land, and their claims look like this. Yeah. And then eventually the Northern Scottish will be taking the capital city of Ireland, forcing the Northern Irish country to surrender. And we can look at the peace treaty of this war. And this is the peace treaty of the war. Firstly, we're going to be starting with the Irish country, the Southern Irish country, as they will be taking this land from the Northern Irish country, there, like that, and also this piece of land here. And also the Southern Scottish country will be gaining this land from the Northern Irish country, but they will also get this land. And the Northern Scottish country is going to take this land, and the Irish are pushed back here. Yeah. Now that I think about it, I think I might want to add a few more major cities over here to England. Like, we'll just add plop a few around. Maybe here, there. Now we have a few more major cities in England. Yeah. And basically, there's a lot going on here. But let's stay in this sort of region-y area. Not specifically in England, though. But sort of north. If we go up here, we can see that the Scottish will be making a landing over here in Greenland, and will be discovering Greenland, the second human colonization over here in the Americas. Yeah. Eventually, the Scottish group is going to go ahead and take, this peninsula area here, and eventually Scotland is going to go ahead and eventually we'll be able to take a little piece, establish a small colony over here, and the Scottish Greenish colony has been established. Sweden is mad about this because, they don't really like this because they feel like that the Scottish are starting to become like a pretty large power against the Swedish. And apparently, the Swedish call this threatening their sovereignty, which doesn't make sense. The Swedish could easily beat Scotland in a war. Despite all their little strong navy thing over here, who knows? It's pretty complicated over here with Scotland, and yeah. How's Scotland able to do any of this anyways? Well, Scotland actually has a really strong navy, and this navy is very good at going ahead and exploring and colonizing territories. So that's how they're able to go here. Yeah. They don't have like the strongest military, but they do have a very expansionist force, and it's able to explore these areas of Greenland. Eventually, the Scottish will eventually be claiming these territorial things here, and this is what Scotland looks like. And Scotland is kind of interesting, as they kind of now claim all of this, at least the northern Scottish country. Yeah. And well, let's go over to Sweden, as Finland is starting to break away. Finland knows about Korea, and people are now thinking, hey, China just let go of Korea pretty easily, so why can't we do the same with our nations? But the thing is with Finland, their revolution, they're actually formally breaking away in a revolution, like from Swedish actual territory. But for Korea, they are just a bunch of people that migrated over here. They weren't actual Chinese territory then broke away. So that's the key difference between the Finnish and the Korean areas. Yeah. As we're going to start by seeing the Finnish go ahead and take multiple major cities in the Scandinavian region, and will eventually be able to take more of these areas. But the Swedish are a pretty large power, so they will be able to push back greatly. Eventually, we'll be able to push back here, and well, just kick Finland back to Finland. Yeah, but Finland is able to keep a stable front line here. As with the next few weeks of the war, the Swedish don't really have many advances, but they do eventually take this major city after about a few months, which is very bad for Sweden considering their power. They're very strong, not as strong as countries like Russia, but still pretty powerful. Oh wait, Sweden's not on here. I think Sweden's maybe about number 6 in the world considering these rankings. Yeah. But also another revolution happens. As well, the northern areas of Sweden want to gain their independence. And well, this is going to trap a lot of Swedish troops here. And eventually a lot of Swedish troops are forced to go back to Sweden. That's not very good. But it gets even worse as the Scottish declare war on Sweden and will be going ahead and sieging Iceland. And well, eventually they will go ahead and capture these islands here. As yeah, they capture these islands. But wait, this is a different color. Oh, the Southern Scottish captured this island. Well, they're taking that. But the Southern Scottish don't really care about that island. They only care about this island. They just want that. Yeah. But eventually the Scottish will be able to make a landing over here in Norway. And this one goes very successful, as the Southern Scottish, using a very large port, will be going ahead and making another landing in Norway. Very surprisingly, both of which will be able to make pretty large colonies over here. And then and eventually the Southern Scottish will be pushed back a lot, eventually losing their major cities, and will be pushed back to here. But the Northern Scottish will be able to hold out in one final major city. Until the Norwegian rebellion happens, as over here in Norway, next to the capital of Sweden, the Norwegians will be rebelling away, hoping to gain independence. And well, the next Swedish rebellion also happens, as well. Yeah, it's just not going good for the Swedish, as Gotland, this island over here, is actually going to be invaded by this country, as they lose it. And well, eventually, Sweden is just not doing well, but they are able to push back the Norwegian rebellion a bit. But this does cause for not that to happen, but the Scottish over here, the Northern Scottish, will be going ahead and taking more territories, and as the Northern and Southern Scottish countries meet up. And well, they are starting to fund the Norwegian rebellion. As the rebellion pops up over here in more nations, and eventually captures multiple major cities, and eventually recaptures all of its lost territory, like this. And while Sweden is just going to surrender over here in order to keep their sovereignty and still stay alive. And well, let's look at the peace treaty of this war. It's the peace treaty. Let's start up here, where Scotland will be gaining all of Ireland, Northern Scotland, and Northern Scotland will also be gaining this chunk from Norway. Southern Scotland will gain this land, which if we look at the provinces, which are actually a pretty good way of showing population, like province value. The Southern Scottish got more valuable land than the Northern Scottish, which does make the Southern Scottish a bit mad, but what can they do? Like really, what can they do? Yeah. This country, like they got in the war, will be getting this land. Finland will be gaining its independence. This country will be gaining its No, not like that. But including these tiny islands I forgot to color off camera, this country will also be getting its independence, and so will this country here. Yeah. But let's go up to Norway now, as they also gain independence. But something's interesting about Norway. Norway decided they put their capital city in two locations. This one is the main one, but it's kind of next to the Swedish, so they added a second one up here. And they're even thinking of having a third one here. So basically, I think it's the first dual capital nation in the history of the world. It's pretty cool to have, but Sweden, as we can see, is very much reduced to a lot of its former power, but it still has its core territories over here in Sweden. They did have a lot of valuable land in Norway, though, so that's a pretty large loss, and these coastal regions, but they still do get to keep some of the valuable lands, and especially over here, like here in Copenhagen. Yeah. I think let's go to the alliance layer now, as we are going to be seeing a few new nations decide to join up with the French Economical Alliance. And what is this? Why do I have to always do that? Well, let's start down here, as the Orange country joins it, the Slovenian nation joins it, and so does the Gold Italian nation. Oh, how far has the Gold Italian nation fallen? They used to be the strongest in the world, controlling the strongest alliance in the world, but now they have joined an alliance that its main leader is not even you. Yeah, they've fallen a lot. Let's go to the Americas now, as we are going to be seeing these people continue to expand. Over here, we can see that they will be continuing to explore around Massachusetts, and eventually go ahead and explore more of these areas, including all these tiny little things. Like, why did I have to draw it in like this? Like, why is there always these like pixel thingies here? Like, even over here over in Asia, there's like one like, oh my god, there, right here. Like, what? Oh right, let's get back to here. As if I can find the river layer, because I think that would be pretty important. We can see that this nation will be continuing to explore with the main focus on these rivers, eventually going pretty far up, and eventually fully exploring this river and making contact with this one. Eventually, they will have a large focus around this river, and eventually discover the lakes of Michigan. Yeah, and eventually they will be able to discover all of this area here. And this is basically where the people in the Americas are now. Yeah. But let's go back to Europe real quick, because that's where everything is happening. As we are going to be seeing something big happening over here in Iberia. Throughout the past few episodes, we've noticed that, or maybe you've noticed, Iberia's been getting more divided. It originally started with like 4 nations, with France here, and Galicia here, and Iberia here, and the Spanish and other nation. But now, eventually France got its land gobbled up, and so did the Spanish countries, and so did this other country that used to be here. And now it's just these 2 nations fighting for dominance over the Iberian Peninsula. Yeah. If we go to the power rankings, we can see that Iberia is the 5th strongest country in the world. But who knows how long that could last? Just who knows, yeah. But well, with being a strong nation, this nation, the Galician nation right here, is kind of worried. So they are going to form a coalition against Iberia with the goal of taking out Iberia. And let's make this the Diamond Coalition. As the Iberians form the Diamond Coalition, oh wait, there's already a Diamonds. Yeah. The Square Coalition against the the Iberians. Yeah, the Iberians. They make sure there's no square alliances. Yeah. And this nation is going to be the Algerian nation. The Algerian nation's reason for joining is they don't really like how Iberia has a lot of influence over the Western Mediterranean Sea. And another nation that joins is that's the thing. As well, basically, three nations that are in close proximity to Iberia have all formed an alliance against Iberia, which is interesting. Yeah. But also, this is very interesting for this alliance thingy here. Because according to the rules of this alliance, the strongest nations are invited to this alliance here, which is the Diamond Alliance, the 4-point star alliance with the strongest nations over in the French area. Why do I have trade outs on? I don't know. But well, this thing is only composed of the strongest nations, and basically they can't really join many alliances outside of France. And the gold team is kind of breaking a treaty. Because eventually all these nations in the treaty to join the alliance agreed that they would be neutral and not join any other alliances. Which is, the gold team is kind of breaking. So basically the gold team is going to get a bunch of sanctions on it. And the gold team is just going to be kicked out of the economical alliance. And they're banned from ever joining again. Which, well, that was a very quick entrance and exit into the alliance. Yeah. And it's time to go up to Germany now, as people are beginning to become united. People want unification in Germany. If we look at the religion map, we can see that Germany is divided between these two religions. Let me turn this alliance layer off. So basically, this nation over here is part of the light blue Benelux religion here, which currently is pretty large, spanning Swedish areas. Why are these colored? I don't know, but well. And so, yeah, but the Western Germans peoples, they stem from the yellow religion, which is kind of interesting. But they have an idea in order to unite all religions. A new idea, hoping to unite everything, and it is called Germanicism. And well, eventually, a few years later, these two nations unite. These nations will be forming the dark green Germanic nation. Religion layer, we can see that the Germanic thing here is basically became its own thing on the religion map. And it's basically this thing's goal is to unite Europe and the world under one singular ideology. And well, speaking of ideologies, if we go to the ideology layer, we can see both of these nations with an oligarchist and, well, a democratic government unite to form Germanicism. Yep, Germanicism is a thing, officially, and this is the only nation that has adopted it so far, because this is new. And well, this is probably the strongest nation in this alliance thing here. So basically, well, this alliance, the French thing, is going to become very united now. As Germany, how the eastern parts here have become more united, especially militarily, as basically all three of these nations function as almost one military. Yeah. And other nations around this area, like some of these French nations, are looking up to Germanicism, thinking, hey, maybe we should do that. Yeah. And let's go down here now, and well, we are going to be going over here to this blue country. as the blue country is going to be invaded by Russia. Russia has some historical relations with this nation, like they used to be allies in the war against Ukraine. But very quickly, this country is gonna be falling over to these nations, as the Russians, the strongest country in the world, are going to be going ahead and taking to many major cities from this nation. And eventually, this nation decides to join the war. Eventually, they will knock out the Ukrainian nation over here. And where's the capital here? That's not supposed to be there. But well, basically, this thing is gonna knock out Ukraine out of the war. No, Romania out of the war. As the blue thing is gonna be invaded, and it's gonna lose its capital very quickly to the impeding forces. Eventually, this country is going to go ahead and invade the thing as well, and eventually, this blue nation is going to surrender, and we can look at the peace treaty of this war. Oh wait, Estonia. What's the peace treaty of this war? As this country is going to get this piece of land here, and going down to Romania, we can see that its capital is removed off the map. Which, if you know what that means, this nation fully annexes it. And this nation also gets a whole bunch of land here, and this is known as the new Romanian Republic. And Russia will also be getting this piece of land here. And the rest of this is just a thing. Yeah. But in a peace treaty with Estonia and this nation, they both get to live as long as they join the French alliance here. And the deal is that they are forced to stay in the alliance for a long time under the terms of this nation. So basically they live and join the alliance, but they also sort of make a defensive pact. And let's make a defensive pact here. Let's just represent a defensive pact. As two defensive pacts are made, with the Baltic country and the blue country and the Baltic country in Estonia. And well, Russia is mad about this as well. We just kind of fought against those nations. Why are you making them your ally? And well, Russia is mad about this. So they are going to be going out and getting allies of their own. And they will be forming the Circle Alliance. And this is going to be the only nation that joins it. Yep, this is the only nation that joins it. And well, talking about Germanicism, this nation is also looking up to Germanicism. And well, they see it as another way to sort of unite the world. But they don't want to be under this new religion thingy here of Germanicism. They want to be united under the red religion. And well, if we go up to ideologies and the normal map, oh, I still need to update these. Let me just erase you real quick, and I'll fix you later. But this theocracy is going to become a fascist nation. And well, this nation's goal is to be kind of like Germanicism, but quote-unquote better. But it's kind of like a mix between theocracy and fascism. So I'll just represent this color for it. This is partial theocracy, a new ideology, and a very interesting one, I can say. And while it's the only partial theocracy in the world, and I don't really want to put on the thing right now. And well, this is a new map of Europe, as Europe has changed a lot in this episode. And that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's scenario where civilization started over. See you in the next episode, where we are going to be seeing a lot more things happen all around the world. Bye!